Yeah, what's up guys, and welcome back to the channel. So today's video is going to be a continuation from last week's introduction to what is basically the cheapest Volkswagen Beetle convertible in the entire country that I managed to pick up relatively cheap. So today I'm going to be trying to get it up and running again. As I say, this has been parked up for getting on nearly a year now. I know for a fact the battery is completely flat. It's got a couple of flat tyres as well, so we're going to get the battery replaced. I've been out and I've got a replacement battery. I've also got a pump to get the tyres pumped up as well. So we're going to swap the battery out, get the tyres pumped up, see if it'll then actually fire up under its own power, because it has been parked up for quite a while. So I'll be doing some basic checks as well, checking the oil, the coolant, things like that as well. And then once we've got the battery swapped over, the tyres pumped up, and we know that it's actually capable of firing up and down, we'll then get it in for a MOT test. And if you're a viewer from abroad, basically any vehicle in the UK that's older than 3 years old has to have a yearly inspection test to make sure that the vehicle is roadworthy. It does everything from checking rust and corrosion on the bodywork and frame, all the way down to checking your lights, your window wipers, things like that. It's something that every vehicle needs to go through every year in the UK to make sure that the vehicles are roadworthy and okay to be on the road itself. And if it highlights any issues, then obviously those issues would need to be resolved before this can actually be fully classed as being back on the road. I say it's in relatively good condition externally. It's got a few little paint marks here and there, a little ripple in the passenger door, but as I say, for the price I paid for it, I'm certainly not going to be complaining about that at all. It has a few other little niggles here and there. As I say, the roof on the inside needs some of the fasteners redoing. The headlights are quite faded on it as well. But at the end of the day, it is a 20-year-old Volkswagen Beetle, so it's going to have some little niggles and dings here and there as well. So as I say, first things first, we're going to be getting the bonnet up. We're going to get the old battery out. We're going to get the new battery in. Thankfully, the doors still work without a operating battery. But there's your lever for the bonnet down there. As you can see, there's the really old, completely dead battery. I have tried to charge it previously and it did absolutely nothing. So as I say, I've been out and I bought a replacement battery just to slap straight in instead. Hopefully it's just going to fire straight up with this in place, and then if it does, that means I can then get the tyre pump connected up, get the tyres working, pumped up, inflated, and then we can see if the car's actually okay to move under its own power. So as I say, let's get cracked on. Let's get this battery swapped over and we'll pick it back up after the new battery's in. And we'll see whether it's actually going to be operational and working or not, or whether it's going to need a bit more of a deeper dig to find out what's going on with it. Hopefully it's going to be relatively straightforward swap over, and hopefully once this new battery is in, that'll be most of the issues resolved, and we'll be able to get the tyres pumped up and we'll be able to get it moving. So let's get the battery swapped over and see what it's like. Right, so with the new battery in place, with the old one out, the new one in, let's hope that we might actually... Oh, that's a good sign. Well, as I said, the fact the alarm's gone off is a good sign. And we do have the mileage on the dash as well. So, make sure it's in neutral. Hopefully, it's just going to fire straight up. We've got fuel, all the lights have gone out. So a little while to get going. As I say, it's been, I don't know, probably 6 months or more since it was even fired up, and that was just to move it off the street onto the driveway. And it's been nearly a year since it's actually had a good fire up and a good drive around. So it's probably got a little bit of smoke to clear out of its lungs, so to speak. But we'll see what it's looking like. a little plume, but that's probably because I was giving it plenty of fuel just to try and get it turned over there. But now it's fired up, it seems to be ticking over okay as well. It's certainly a good sign, and now it's ticking over. It means I can get my little tyre inflator in, and I can get the tyres pumped up, because as we can see round here on the passenger side, this front tyre is completely flat. There's absolutely nothing in that at all. It might even need replacing for its MOT test, we'll see. But first things first, we'll just get some air into it, just so we can get the car moving backwards and forwards. I did make sure that the handbrake wasn't left on when I parked it up for my neighbours, so hopefully the brakes aren't seized on it or anything like that. But again, because it hasn't been used in a year, the brakes are definitely going to need a good clean up, if not possibly replacing as well. As we can see, there's lots of surface pitting on the actual discs, as you can see there, or you might be able to see anyway, but a lot of it might clean up through use, some of it might need replacing. But as I say, at least just with a new battery, we know that that was the main issue for it not turning over or firing up. So now it's up and running. I'm going to leave it ticking over for a couple of minutes, and then, as I say, I'll get the battery, the tyre inflator connected up, we'll get that tyre pumped up, and then we'll see if we can at least take it up and down the little street. But it's a good sign, and as I say, at least I know it turns over and starts up now. So I'll pick it back up in a few minutes and we'll get that tyre inflated. Right, so the vehicle's been ticking over quite nicely for the last 15-20 minutes now. I've been round and pumped up all the tyres with the tyre compressor as well, just to make sure that there's plenty of air in them. The very front passenger one was pretty much completely flat, but the others were down to almost single digit pressures as well. So I've been round and I made sure that they're all pumped up. So as I say, it's still ticking over quite nicely. It actually sounds quite healthy as well. It's not shaking or rattling itself to bits, as you can see in here. Pretty much as you would expect from a car that's been in use daily. So I'm just going to quickly just drive it up and down the little cul-de-sac road that I've got here, just a little bit up and down there. I'm not going to be taking it out on proper main roads or anything like that, because at the moment it's not taxed, it's not insured, it's not tested or anything like that. So this is basically just to make sure that the brakes are freed up, there's nothing seized on, anything like that. And then we'll get it back on the driveway and we'll give it a good old once over, give it a good old tidy, a good hoover out and a good wash as well. As you can see, there's the previous owner was a smoker, so there's lots of old rolling tobacco in the carpet areas, things like that. And we also have two lights on the dash that we need to look at as well. We have the SRS airbag light and we have a check engine light. Hopefully those are just because it's been parked up for so long, and I do have a ODB2 reader, so I'll get that connected up as well, reset any codes that might be stored within the ECU, and hopefully that will resolve any of these remaining dash lights as well. I'll say first things first, I'll get the bonnet down, get the door shut, and we'll take it for a very small brief drive, just to make sure that A, it's going through all the gears okay, things like that, and B, just to be sure that none of the brakes are seized on, things like that as well, just to start to clean those up a little bit. But as I say, the signs are encouraging, considering the new battery, it started straight up and it's been ticking over since with no issues as well. So as I say, let's take it for that very brief quick nip around the down the road and back, just to make sure that the brakes are all nicely freed up, and then we'll give it a good old clean down and a wash down. Right, so I've had the car up and down the road a good few times now. The brakes are starting to free off and clean up now as well. They were starting to grind the first couple of times I've been braking, but as I've done it a few more times, the grind has become less and less, and just looking at the brakes themselves, you can start to see that they're actually starting to clean up at the top as well. And feeling all the brake discs as well, it feels as though they were probably replaced relatively recently, because there's no lips on any of the brake discs going all the way around. So I've now had a little shuffle around on my driveway as well. As you can see, it's a bloody good thing that I've actually got a good sized driveway, because I've got my old Lupo that's still parked up in the corner there. We have the Beetle, and then we have my Boxster and the current camper van as well. So they're all lined up, so I think I might go out and get the hose out, get the bucket out, give it a good little wash over as well, just to give it a little fresh up, because as I say, it's been parked up around about a year or so. Never had any sort of washers or any care taken into it at all. So I might just give it a quick little once over, just as a quick rub down, wash up, see how it comes up, and I might as well do the others while I'm at it at the same time. But at least, as I know, it's starting up under its own power. It's driving around, starts and stops and drives okay. That's the main thing. I've done some of the basic checks that some of the MOT stuff would be checking as well, checking all the things like the headlights, the indicators, brake lights, windscreen wipers, all the basic stuff that could cause a fail. But everything seems fine so far as well, so as I say, it's not looking too bad. So finally, for the last little bit of this video, as I say, we'll give it a good old wash down and see how it scrubs up after it's had a good little wash. Right, so we've now confirmed that the car's working. We've managed to get it started, up and running, drive it around a little bit, just to make sure that it's actually driving forwards, backwards okay, the brakes are fine as well. We've gave it a wash down. I think the battery died as I was giving it a wash though, but it's came out quite nicely, as you can see, going around it as well. I say there's a couple of little dings and scratches here and there, but generally it's came out quite nicely really. So the only real main damage on the entire bodywork is a little bit of rippling in the passenger door, and I don't even know how well it's actually going to come out on the camera, but around about that area there's just a little bit of rippling in the door. But other than that, as I say, it's come out pretty okay really. So it's been fully washed now, it's been fully hoovered out as well. The only thing I've got to do really before we put it in for the yearly roadworthy test is to try and get a couple of the engine management type lights put out, because at the moment when we put the ignition on and we fire it up, we've got two lights that are still staying on. We have the airbag light and we have a check engine light. Now those are both MOT failure, so those lights do need to go out before we put it in for the yearly MOT check and test. Now I do have a ODB2 reader here as well, so I'm going to plug that into the ODB port and see if there's anything that I can actually just reset myself. Whether it might need a replacement sensor or anything like that, I don't know, but as you can hear now, this is a week later since I got it up and running. As I say, I'm just picking this video up now, but it fired straight back up there with the new battery. It's ticking over nicely, just under 1,000 revs as you would expect. You can hear it's actually running nice and smooth as well. So I'm going to get this ODB2 connected up, see what error messages it's actually giving out, see if we can get those reset, and then we'll get it in for its yearly test. But that'll be in the next video. That's it for now though. Let's see if I can get these codes reset and hopefully get rid of these lights on the dash. And with the ODB2 sensor reader connected, I don't know how well it'll come out on the camera, hopefully it'll be okay, but it's found 3 faults. One of them is an engine coolant temperature sensor on circuit 1. The second one is an O2 sensor on, again, circuit bank 1, sensor 1. And we have a cylinder form misfire detected. Those are just the standard codes, so if I go back out and if I erase the codes. Right, so I've erased the codes, and now if we go on to the read codes menu again, the vehicle has no fault codes, and on the dash we've got rid of the engine management light as well. I do still have the airbag light on. I'm not sure what that's going to be. That could just be a sensor as well, but the engine management light was one of the main concerns, because obviously that is an instant MOT yearly test failure as well. So at least that's gone now as well, and it might actually help the car run a little bit smoother as well. But as I say, just for the sake of plugging in an ODB2, that's at least got rid of one of the main causes of lights as well. And I'll have a little jig around with the airbag light as well. I'll have to do some research about what that might be, whether it's going to be a sensor or not, I'm not sure. But we're certainly getting there. So as I say, that is the car now up and running again. It's now, As I say, starting and stopping, driving forwards, backwards, as you would expect. We've got rid of a lot of the lights as well, because when we first started it up, the dash was pretty much a Christmas tree, and now all we've got is the coolant light, basically saying that it needs a top of a coolant, which I knew, and the airbag light, which I'll try and get off before we put it in for the test. But as I say, at least we know that the car is operational. It does work, that's the main thing. It didn't really require a lot of work, just that new battery, getting some air in the tyres, and thankfully that's all it needed. So this is the cheapest Volkswagen Beetle convertible in the country, back up and running again. And next week I'm going to try and get it in for its yearly MOT test, so if it can pass that, then it will be fully roadworthy and it can get fully back on the road. So follow along with next week's video as we put it in for the test, see if it's going to come back with any failures or if it's going to get a clean pass as well. And if you're new to the channel, consider having a look at some of the previous content, because the channel's mainly concentrated on campervan conversions. But as I say, this is just a little opportunity that came along that I couldn't really say no to. So hopefully you found the video a little informative and useful. If you did, consider giving it a good old thumbs up. I say consider watching the previous video where I show the car when I first bought it, and hopefully I'll see you on some of the future videos to come on the channel. So thanks for watching. Cheers.
But I don't wanna miss you, baby.